Hi! In this lecture, I thought that I would set myself a challenge. Here I have opened a book cover for one of my wife's books, and I thought that I would try to duplicate it. I originally created this in the GIMP. This is a JPEG that I generated out of the GNU image manipulation program, a big fancy complicated program for making book covers. And I thought I would see if I could duplicate this book cover in PowerPoint. This is the first time. This is a live demonstration, so I'm going to see how this works out. So we'll begin by inserting a new slide. I'm going to keep this slide here that I can reference for colors and stuff like that. I'll steal that out of here. And I also want to talk to you about inserting images, which we're going to do as part of making this cover. So let's go ahead and we're going to insert, you haven't seen this yet, a new slide, because we only have one slide. We're going to do a blank one, and that gives us our white slide. So this is the result of doing the whole new and setting your orientation and all of that stuff. It's automatically done for us just by creating a new slide. Notice you can create more than one book cover per PowerPoint presentation too, which is interesting. Interesting possibilities. So the first thing I'm going to do is set the background. And to do that, I'm going to go to Design, and I'm going to do Format Background. Okay, now I want to give this a gradient fill. No, I'm sorry, I want to give this a solid fill, but I want to base it on this color here. So let's go to Solid Fill, and on Colors, there should be, our favorite little eyedropper. So let's go ahead and we'll go over to this gray, and we'll pick it as the color. Now you notice that our color just changed to gray. That's perfect. And we'll go over here, and then we'll go for the fill color. And this one, the most recent color on the far left, is the one that we just picked. So let's pick that as the color. There, we've got our background color. Now what I thought we would do is just build the layers from the bottom up this time, rather than the way that we did it before. We'd add text. Instead, let's add those boxes. Those are kind of interesting looking. So to do that, we insert, shape, and insert a rectangle. So we select that, and then we pull out just a shape to get it here. And we want, for the color, once again, this interesting color. So let's go over here and pick the color. So we come over here and we use the eyedropper to set the color to this current gold background. There we go. Now it's a recent color. Now if we come here and we go to here and we say set the color, we can pick the most recent color, which is our gold color. There. Now we've got a gold color. Now we don't particularly want a outline on this, so let's apply no outline. There we go. We got rid of the outline. Now we want another one of these boxes, so we'll use our quick keyboard accelerator keys to do Control-C, Control-V to cut and paste. There we go. And this box is somewhere down around in this region. And it's a little bit wider. And a little bit bigger. There we go. I think we're ready to bring in a picture. Okay, the last time that we did a picture, we did it for the background. This time we're going to show you how to put a small picture that doesn't consume the entire book cover. So let's go ahead and we'll do Insert, Pictures. And that's allowing us to select from the pictures on my drive. And I'm going to go to a particular directory where I have the picture that I want. And I'll scroll down to find it. There it is. Let's install this picture or insert this picture. Now it's kind of small, so we want to move it over to about right here, I would say. And then we want it to almost go to the very bottom. Let's make it like that. Now notice that we can treat this just like a text box or any other shape. We just grab the edge and we pull it to the size that we want it. We can also rotate it any direction. We can add effects to it. And in fact, an effect that we have to add in looking at the original book cover here is that it has a drop shadow on it. So let's put a drop shadow onto this shape. We'll pick the shape. After selecting the image, we go to the top of the screen where we choose Picture Effects, and we come down and choose a shadow. Now we want an outer shadow where the shadow is going off at 45 degrees, and you could just barely see it applied there. The problem is it's not very defined, the shadow, and we want to define it more. And it just so happens that the Format Picture dialog is open over here to the right, and that we're on Effects, which is where we want to be. I'm going to close this window so that I can show you how to get it there if it didn't happen to be open. We got lucky. Let's say we're unlucky and we're here. I right-click to get the context menu, and I go to Format Picture. And there it is. Now we want the effects, which is the second box over. We've been dealing with the fill in the past for the background and so on, giving it a solid color and all that good stuff. Now we're going to do effects. And the effect that we want, here's 3D rotation, which we played around with once, is shadow. So we click on the shadow and it opens up. And now we can define the parameters of the drop shadow that's behind this image. For instance, we can have the distance of the shadow from the box be greater than just 3 points, which is very small. So now as I increase this to the right, you can see the shadow is slowly moving out. There it is. Now we can actually see the shadow. Let's bring it in just a little bit more. That's good. Now the other thing we can do is it's a very hard shadow right now. I'd like to see it blurred more. So let's go ahead and grab the blur. And now it's becoming blurrier and blurrier until I think we've got a pretty good match now between the shadow from the old book and the shadow in this one. So that was inserting a picture and then applying a shadow to it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to lay down the text, and we're going to put a shadow on that too, which is going to look very similar to this. Working with text and working with images, working with shapes, they all work pretty much the same. So if I show you one, you'll know how to put a drop shadow on any of them. Let's insert a text box for my wife's name, Melanie Jackson. We'll do it, outside of the box, because I just selected the box instead, and we'll say Melanie Jackson. There we go. Now it happens to be very small and of the wrong font and the wrong color, so we'll select the whole thing and we'll go to the home menu, which is already up, that's convenient, and we'll start configuring it. For the first thing, I want to change the font to a font called Imprint. So let's go down to Imprint Empty Shadow. That's what I used in the other cover. Notice that the fonts are shareable. Any application that runs on Windows shares fonts. So I used fonts in the GIMP. They're going to be available in PowerPoint. So I can make an identical cover, which is what I'm working toward. Now the solid color for the text, the fill color, I want to be white. Now it's white text. I want it to be significantly larger. In fact, 96 probably isn't going to be big enough. No, it isn't. So I'm going to have to type a number here. Let's go ahead and highlight the text that I want to replace. Type in a new number and press enter to see what that looks like. You know, that's about the right size. And it's not all uppercase, which is what the other one was. So let's go ahead and change that. It also needs to be on 2 lines. So let's go ahead and we'll go here and we'll put a return to get it on a different line. It also needs to be indented on the second line just a little bit. So let's put a couple indents like that, and then we'll move it down just a little. Grab its edge to select the text box, and it's supposed to be hanging just off the box a little like that. Once the text is selected, then we can quickly add a preset to it because we've already got the format shape open over here. So let's go ahead and pick the preset. There we go. We want that one for the text. You can just barely see the shadow out there because the distance isn't very far. Let's go ahead and make the distance further. Now you can see the shadow, and let's blur it significantly. There we go. Now we've got a drop shadow on the text. Okay, let's add more text.